Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for notifications on future uploads. Hello, it's Bard here, or you can call me Sully, and welcome to some more of Sulli-Ween. We now come to the annual Sulli-Ween tradition of reviewing a Tim Burton movie. But this year, I want to review his short films, the ones that he made in his early years when working with Disney from 1979 to 1984, originally working as an animator for The Fox and the Hound to creating unused concept art for The Black Cauldron. But his claim to fame came from the short films he made, and as far as I know, only 5 films were created at Disney, with rumors of 3 other films. However, 4 of them have survived, with 2 of them being big names. Well, I'm only going to be taking a look at one of these films, and it's one that first aired on the Disney Channel in 1983 as a Halloween special. And being between his 2 biggest ones, Vincent and Frankenweenie, it's Hansel and Gretel. 2 kids named Hansel and Gretel are living in a small house with their father, who is a toy maker, and their stepmother, who hugs most of the food she makes and leaves little to the rest. But she slaps the children and sends them to their room for making fun of her while eating. Yet the father cheers them up with a puppet named Jumbo and has them go to sleep. The next day, the stepmother goes out for a walk with the kids into the woods, distracts them with a firecracker fountain, and leaves them all alone in the forest. However, Hansel left behind stones as a trail for the 2 to follow back home, and the next day the stepmother goes out for another walk into the woods with the kids, but this time she made a toy duck for the kids that ate the stones Hansel leaves behind as a trail. And so, once the stepmother left, the children are now lost in the woods. But the toy duck turns into a robot and leads the kids to a house of sweets and candy, where a witch lives inside and invites Hansel and Gretel into her home to eat the furniture that's made of sweets, only to soon have plans to eat Hansel and have Gretel work the oven. There have been other adaptations and appearances of Hansel and Gretel over the years, with them ranging from pretty well done to pretty boring. And though some of them retain the story's German origins, this one adaptation is unique in featuring Asian actors as the characters and utilizing Tim Burton's style to full effect as live-action props and sets. But does it all work together with the story attached? Well, not entirely. I mean, all the stuff that makes this special good is worth seeing. But how it's all handled and executed is the problem, in that it's nothing bad, yet it's nothing good. For a majority of the special just feels weird, strange, and odd, and I'm not quite sure how to make of it. With the stepmother's acting being pretty hammy, the witch's acting being okay, except when she screams, especially during her final moments, the children's acting being alright, except on occasion, Gretel has a line that feels bland, and the father's acting being the most decent. But there's one character that seems pretty creepy, that he becomes one of the highlights of the special. It's Dan the Gingerbread Man. He not only looks creepy, given how he's a Burton character, but he also seems to act creepy. He's sent by the witch and tries to get Hansel to eat him up so the boy can be fat. But even when Hansel refuses to eat or finish Dan, the gingerbread man still insists to be eaten, verbally coaxing Hansel positively or angrily, all without being in pain every time Hansel takes a bite. But for why he's a highlight is for how well Dan acts, selling it with his voice and being a puppet. He even makes a reference to the Ron Stewart song Do You Think I'm Sexy, with his own lyrics and sung to the same tune. But what are the family eating exactly? Gruel? Slop? Melted ice cream? Is this where the early Simpsons got their food inspiration from? The changes in the story are okay, yet in some ways are kind of questionable, the biggest one being the ending. Hansel and Gretel trick the witch into getting in her own oven, and when she does, the kids escape her house as it melts away into a river of melted candy. Then a swan boat emerges from the melted house and brings the kids out of the woods and back home. The kids realize their father made the swan, and it pours out lots of coins from its mouth, allowing the father and the 2 kids to be happy together with no stepmother in sight. But this ending left me wondering, where on earth did the swan come from as it's from the father? How did the kids know who made the swan? How did the father do this without being noticed? Maybe he knew the stepmother was up to something and made the swan in advance, knowing she'll ditch them in the woods when he's away, and the coins are the money he earned from selling his toys? I really don't know how to take in this ending. I mean, the last time the stepmother was seen, she left the kids in the forest and is never seen again. But am I to assume that the witch is the stepmother in disguise, because it is the same actor playing both roles? That might be a huge stretch, given that the witch knows how her house works. But the toy duck that turns into a robot leads the kids to the witch, and that toy was made by the stepmother, because Hansel said the father hasn't made a toy duck before, and I'm just gonna stop. However, the pros that this special offers are neat, yet still as strange. All the sets, props, and toys are designed by Tim Burton, and they all look pretty well made. And they do have good structure to them, giving his drawings a three-dimensional look, and the witch's house windows are like mouths and teeth, even when the candy melts and pours out of them. There's brief moments of stop motion that looks cool, whether it's the eyes of the bed or the toy duck, in which the sound it makes when eating the stones gets a chuckle out of me. The music by John Costa has a calm and sometimes unnatural feel, as it's mainly done on piano. Occasionally there's a brief change in music, with a trumpet sound one moment and a synthesizer another moment, but it's mostly piano being heard throughout, which sort of makes the whole special feel and look like it's on stage. How the music plays, how the acting goes, how it's all shot, it's almost like a big-scale play of Hansel and Gretel, but made for TV. But I'm not going to explain why or what Burton had in mind, as the whole special just feels odd and strange, and I prefer his feature films more for that. Yet the actors playing their characters are fair enough, despite each one having varied ways of acting. Jim Ishida plays father, Michael Yama plays stepmother and Wicked Witch, Andy Lee plays Hansel, Alison Hahn plays Gretel, and David Koenigsberg plays Dan the Gingerbread Man. As a whole, this special is odd and weird, but half the time creative. The characters are alright, the story is basic, yet has nice ideas, and the effects, when used, are interesting. As a short film from director Tim Burton during his early years with Disney, it's a strange little one. Yet there is a creativity to the designs of the sets, toys, and Rich's house, using Burton's drawn style to good effect, as well as some nice music. However, some of the acting is occasionally hammy, and some of the changes to the original story are oddly handled, while following the basic premise. This is certainly one of the most bizarre adaptations of the story, especially coming from Tim Burton, and it isn't as whimsically odd as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or as bizarrely dark as Alice in Wonderland. It's just odd. I give Burton's other adaptations a pass because he has gained more experience, whether or not his style interfered. But this is one of, if not his first adaptation of a classic story, where the liberties are questionable despite it being a fairy tale. It has good intentions in several places, but overall, it's a little strange to get into. So today, this special will be getting a rating of 2.5 mixed stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and until next time for the conclusion of Sulli-Ween.